don't know. I thought they were sweeping you guys up together. We'll get her up here when she arrives.
Hi, everyone. Whoa. That's loud.
He's the reason that every third person I see here is carrying a Chucky doll. So, yeah, so it sounds like you're, and are you doing, I know there's photo ops, you guys are doing photo ops this weekend. Are you doing any with the factory set? There's a good guy factory set?
Yeah, we did it yesterday and today. I think tomorrow also. Yeah.
Okay, so you can get that as well as just solo photos with, and a group photo of the three of you. All right, so, we're gonna assume Christine's coming very soon.
Christine, where the fuck are you?
I talked to her yesterday, so I know she's aware of this. Okay, well, let's just start. I mean, let's just go back to the beginning. I mean, you played this role in the original Child's Play, and then you've been asked to reprise it in a couple of films, and then now in the television series, which it's very good and very successful, and even though we can't really, for reasons you can probably guess, we can't really talk about the next season, but we can talk about the first couple seasons maybe. Yeah. But just tell, like, did you ever, I mean, I realize as a kid you're not really thinking career goals, but did you ever think that this was going to be like, this is like people are lining up for you, people are like wanting their pictures with you, like this doll has infiltrated your life in ways you probably couldn't have guessed when you were a kid.
And in ways that you don't know.
Yeah, it's true. I've seen the photos. Yeah. Tell us about, like, when you look back on it, like, how does that make you feel?
Christine Elise, everybody.
There we go. There she is.
No, of course, at 6 years old, no one could have predicted that 35 years later we'd be in a room full of appreciative people, and we've had 7 films and 16 hours of a TV series. So no, of course we couldn't have predicted that. When we made the sequel, we made Child's Play 2, I got the impression Chucky was, going to be around for a bit. But no, after my character was, after I was recast going into the third film, I thought that was it. I mean, I didn't come back into the franchise for 23 years after that. Right. So that was a call I was very happy to get.
And I guess, Christine, you kind of had a similar path where they introduced you in the second film, and then you came back later, and then it came back in the series as well. But I mean, had you ever, and you certainly had more of an established career at that time, but did you ever think that this would be the thing that, I mean, I realize people know you from multiple things, but this was going to be such a legacy character for you?
No, again, it's impossible to predict such a thing, and to not be used in the third film was, like, both of us were super bummed about that. But how should I phrase this? I don't know. It's just no possible way. Don Mancini couldn't even predict how it's gone. It's entirely because horror fans are so loyal that we're still doing it. Without you guys, we would, not even watch it. There'd be no point in doing it. So, yeah. Sorry, I'm not articulate today. I apologize.
Well,
my brain dead.
There was a great documentary that came out earlier this year called Living with Chucky. You're both in it, both new interviews. That basically just, I'm sure most of you have seen it if you're here, but it basically just walks through very cleverly, like film by film, not just the stories and the different changing cast members, but like it goes through the filmmakers, and her name is Jennifer? Kira Gardner, right? And she is the daughter of
Tony Gardner.
Yeah, Tony Gardner's like the main makeup guy for these movies. And
no, he's a puppeteer. He's the Chucky.
Oh yeah, that's right. He's a puppeteer. So, but he's in it for the whole run, and so she grew up watching with all of you, like kind of, and I just thought that was such an interesting perspective to really. But what do you remember about her being like around? And
I don't remember her when we were young.
Right.
And also Tony didn't join until Seed of Chucky.
Right.
It was Kevin Yeager
Okay.
who was Chucky in the first 4, including Pride, I think.
Yeah, so I didn't meet Tony until My Little Spot and Cult.
Right.
That's when first time I met Tony.
But No, Kira's younger, so yeah, since she was a child,
Yeah.
she grew up with Chucky in her life.
Much like
much
Fiona.
like I did, much like Fiona did. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Fiona Dorff. Let's see here. I guess because you guys were relatively young when you made your first films in this series, did any of this even like get to you? Did any of this scare you, or was it just fun for you?
No, it wasn't scary. I mean, when you're there, and you're doing the same thing over and over again, and you see all the wires that come out from it, and you know that your job is to make you guys scared. No, there's no opportunity to be frightened by it.
Yeah.
Also, when you're shooting, like say we're doing a scene, behind the camera is this many people.
Yeah.
It's a huge crowd of people that make it happen, so it doesn't feel remotely scary.
But I have to imagine when you're face to face with a moving doll, even if there's like a team of people operating, that's kind of where your focus goes. Like you can't ignore like a talking doll or moving doll when you're shooting it. Like it's like being in front of Muppets.
That doesn't mean it scares you.
Yeah, no, I know, but it had to have like that's like a really unique experience. Like probably nobody else you knew had that experience.
It is, but I when you're acting, you're quite often acting to something inanimate on the other end of the camera. Sometimes you're playing to a piece of tape that is supposed to be your eye line. It's not always the experiences you would expect it to be.
Yeah, so like for me in particular on Child's Play 2, because he had child labor laws applied to him, so he had to be wrapped in the shortest amount of time. And the doll had 9 puppeteers that ran him, and they were all SAG actors, and so the doll was really expensive to have on set. So they would shoot Alex out, and then shoot the doll out, and then get to me, and almost anytime you see any close-ups of me, neither Alex nor Chucky is in the room with me. I'm looking at tape on C stands. There's a blue Chucky, there's a blue tape is Chucky, the red tape is Andy, and like acting in a vacuum. So I learned early on to try to like stand as close to Alex as I possibly could in scenes, like so that they couldn't shoot me without him, so they wouldn't keep me there for like 20-hour days.
I think if I remember correctly in the documentary, one of the things they bring up about Kyle is that she has become this like feminist icon, like this sort of hero in a horror movie that I think goes beyond the whole final girl idea, and it's like she's like the hero, and not just like a survivor, like a slasher movie. Would you have any sense of, was that one of the things that you kind of responded to when you first got that script? Was that she was an action star kind of?
Well, my stock in trade for most of my career has been playing the offbeat, misunderstood, tough chick with a heart of gold. I played that character a lot. It's not too far from who I really am. So yeah, I mean, I always say that I think there's sort of 2 schools of acting. There's the actors that are like Meryl Streep and they're invisible in the characters they play, and actors that are like Jack Nicholson, and it's Jack Nicholson it's just Jack Nicholson, and I'm much more that style of actor. I'm not trained, I'm not particularly talented, so I just try to make any character as much like me as I possibly can, because I have me is the most unique thing I can bring to anything. So the more of me that I can bring to something, the more unique it is, I think.
I want to ask you about Christine, about another horror film you were in. I don't know if I've ever met anyone who's worked on an Abel Ferrara film before. She was in his version of Body Snatchers. Tell me, I mean, and that's one of his most like commercial film, like in terms of the way it was released. It seems like it was everywhere when it first came out. What do you remember? Just give me your best Abel Ferrara story. There has to be several, I'm guessing, but hopefully it was a good experience.
He's crazy, yeah. He's really crazy. He's like wired like he's on drugs all the time. He's a really speedy kind of a guy.
It's possible.
I didn't say that. But we shot for 3 months in Selma, Alabama, and at a sort of abandoned army base thing. Selma, Alabama is a historic city in this country, and it was sort of fun to be in that history of that town, and the bridge, the Pettus Bridge, and all that march to Montgomery stuff, My thing with Abel, I think I'm pretty bad in that movie because able, like, he hires people he likes, and for whatever department they're in, and he completely trusts you to do your job, and he's kind of hands off, and he'll let you say anything you want. Like, he'll like, as long as you get the point across in this scene, you can say any fucking words you want. And that was too much freedom for me. I didn't need. I needed more structure than that. I just think winging it, and I feel like I'm just awful in that movie.
I mean, that movie's wild anyway, but yeah, I don't think you're bad in that movie at all. Actually.
The movie is really good. I think the movie's underrated. I think the movie, and it holds up really
Great.
well, but I don't think I'm good in it.
Has the and I realize that again, you might be slightly limited to how much you can talk about the series, but have you enjoyed the opportunity, like, to sort of dig into these characters a little more on a series than maybe you would, 2 movies separated by 20 some years? Has that been kind of an interesting
Well,
combination
yeah.
of this run?
I mean, both of our characters have had really fun stuff to do on the show. Andy has been through quite a bit in his life, in general, but it doesn't seem like his days are getting any better. So yeah, of course that's fun. But even more than just our characters, I can say that Christine and I are both such huge fans of the show and such huge fans of the work that they did. Working on a movie for 3 months and then you wait maybe a year and then it comes out and you just have that one experience of watching it. That's one thing, but especially with you guys who we feel very connected to, we've been doing conventions forever, we've met countless Chucky fans in our lives. So to watch it week to week with all of you, and it's so much content. I mean, we put out 16 hours of a show. It's full of surprises for us. We may know what's in the script, but you really just we've been so even more than pleasantly surprised by the way that they've put everything together. It's just been brilliant. We all know Don's brilliant, but everyone who works on that show, I think, has just done a fantastic job. So.
You brought up Don. Okay, so there's a microphone right there in this aisle here. If you guys, I'm going to have you start lining up if you've got questions. But the last thing I wanted to ask was about Don and just what is different about him than maybe some of the other creators that you've worked with? Because clearly a lot of loyalty there. Like he somehow inspires this in a lot of people he works with, and they keep coming back, and he keeps coming up with this creative stuff. Tell me what's a little different about him.
Well, I'm first off, he's just very loved by everyone. He's very dedicated to this story. It's his baby, of course, but it means a lot to him. That comes across. He's there and accessible. As a showrunner, obviously he has so much to do. But yeah, he's considerate and he's kind. And if anyone has questions, he's very, very approachable. He has fun doing it, and that's obvious. So yeah,
Yeah, he's a huge cinephile. He's a genuine fan of movies, and I think that shows. And like he said about the magic of Dawn, and the reason that the Chucky's franchise has, I think, gone as long as it has, is the complete sincerity of Don Mancini. I always sort of compare it to like Aaron Spelling would make, Love Boat and corny shows that were huge hits, and people would try to copy it. I know the formula. I can make a fucking stupid show about kids in high school too, but there's no sincerity. Aaron Spelling did not think he was making corny television. Aaron Spelling was sincere about it, loved it all, very hands-on, right down to the lipstick colors you wore. And so when people would try to copy him from a jaded perspective, you can feel that in the product. Audiences can feel that you're just throwing some bullshit at them, and I don't think anyone ever feels that with Dawn.
Do we have any questions? Just